Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the plaintiff, Rachel Bremelst. She says the defendants are former bosses owe her for flowers she provided at their wedding. And no matter what she does, she can't seem to get them to pay her what they owe. The defendants go on vacation, spend money all over town, but won't pay her for her services? Come on. She's suing for $600, the amount she's owed, plus pain and suffering. These are the defendants, Carol and Sean Davenport. Sean says they paid the plaintiff in full for the flowers she provided for their very small wedding. They have no idea why this woman's seeking more money 3 years after their business was concluded. But hey, it's a free country, and if she wants to have her day in court, then so be it. They're accused of a flower foul.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
You see it? Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn in.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Rachel Bremelst, you are suing Mr. and Mrs. Davenport for $600 that you say they owe you, $400 of it, the balance on flowers you did for their wedding, and $200 for aggravating you. Tell me what's going on.
Well, in 1,000 words or less, I worked with Carol at a plant job company. We take care of interior plants, and she got engaged to Sean in January of that year, 2013. And she knows my flower background. I worked at a flower shop, and she liked my work I was doing with her at the company, so she asked me to be their florist. And she ended up leaving that company, and I was still working there, but we met a couple times to discuss her flowers. We met for lunch at a Bertucci's. She invited me out to the warehouse of the company she went to work for to get flowers, silk flowers, artificial ones, to do several arrangements for her ceremony.
What was the agreement between you two? Did you have a contract, a written contract?
No, it was all verbal.
Okay, and you were going to do what for how much money?
Well, we kept talking. She kept saying, I want this, I want that, then things would change. She wanted personal flowers, fresh flowers for like her maid of honor, the flower girl, the boutonnieres for the men, a big, huge mantelpiece over the fireplace of fresh flowers. And she provided the silk flowers, the artificial ones from her company she was working for, to go in arrangements that I made to go up to the Justice of the Peace, like to line the walkway. But I went to a wholesaler to get fresh flowers for all the personal things, the bouquet, bride's bouquet.
How much were you supposed to get paid?
Well, we never really discussed it.
Really? That's how you all do business, and then you come crying to me.
Yes.
So it was good enough for you not to have a price, and it was good enough for you not to have a price, and now you disagree on what the price should be, and both of you think you're all in the right. That's amazing. Go ahead, go on.
Well, I also had a big S on my forehead because I was very trusting.
No, that's not trusting. You have a big S on your forehead because what? You're a sucker?
Yes.
No, you have a big S on your forehead because you're stupid. Because you are trying to do a job that you are expecting to get paid for, and you have no consensus of what you're going to get paid to do the job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing,
but what?
Well,
that has not. What is the reason that you would do that as a businesswoman?
Because I was still. Well, we were friends because she asked me to do the flowers.
So stop. Work with me here on that one thing you said. We were friends. And therefore what? Because the person I want to keep as a friend is the person who is my friend. So the last thing I would want to do is have a figure in my head that doesn't jive with the figure in her head. You see? Right. So how do I know if I'm allowed to spend $1,200? How do I know how much I can spend if the subject of money doesn't come up? It had to have come up at some point.
Well, it came up that day of the wedding when I did
the same day of the wedding. Wait a minute. How do you know how much you can spend on fresh flowers if you don't know what their budget is?
Because when we were discussing the things that she wanted, being a florist, I knew what to get.
But did you say to her, look, these fresh flowers are at a minimum are going to cost you X? Did you ever talk anything about the prices?
I can't recall.
You were invited to the wedding, right?
Yeah, we went to the wedding, my son and I. I said to her, she said, can I pay you later because I spent way too much on other things, and can I pay you in installments? And I said, sure, that's no problem. I figure we're friends. She's going to be my boss. It's going to be fine.
Did you end up working for her?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And so then after they come back from their honeymoon, you send an invoice?
Yeah, I gave it to her.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, great. And she gave me 2 small payments over the
How
course
much?
of the next 2 years. $100 September of 2013 on the 28th, $200, I'm sorry. And then $100 the following February 6th of 2014. And
she paid you another 100?
Yep. So she kept.
Where's the invoice that you gave them?
The invoice. It was handwritten, and I gave her a copy of it.
Right. So what is this? This is the original invoice?
Yes.
But you gave her a copy of it?
Yes.
Okay. So your bill was $649, and according to you, she paid you $300. Correct?
Correct. Cash 2 different times.
So she should owe you $349, not $400, right? Did she pay you anything else besides the $200 and the $100?
No. And then during the course of my employment there, she'd say, oh, I know I owe you money. And I said, okay, great. You know, when you get it, that's great. And
how many years were you waiting?
Well, I left.
I mean, the wedding was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years in August.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm a pretty patient person, again, with that big S on my forehead. I was too nice, too stupid.
When did you start working for her company?
Right after the wedding was like the 10th of September, 2013.
So she pays you in September, she pays you in February of the following year of 2014, and then you never see anything else?
Nope, it was
And then
referenced.
when do you sue? You decide to sue after you no longer work for that company?
Correct.
And why did you stop working for that company?
I just didn't like how things were being managed. We had some disagreements.
And she had disagreements?
Yeah, a little bit.
What were the disagreements?
A little bit of a fallout. How I'd done something for her, a job at the company.
So you quit in July, and you don't file the lawsuit until when?
It was a few weeks ago.
Okay, so I see in all of the emails and letters that you send, you never once say how much is owed. How come you don't say how much is owed in those?
I don't know. I guess
I don't know either. All right, so talk to me and tell me what happened here with your wedding.
So we talked about her doing flowers. I was looking for a florist. She said, you know, I do flowers, and I didn't know her flower work. I only knew her holiday design work. Mm-hmm. But because her holiday design work, you know, I really liked, I thought that was a good idea to do it. We'd never had a contract, which was really dumb.
Right.
Yeah.
And so So what was your agreement? Was that you would pay her what?
So when we didn't talk about any money. She said that she would charge us materials plus cost. Labor to do the job.
Well, materials plus labor is a bill, and so...
Right, so there wasn't any particular, she never gave me an invoice. And then...
What did you think you were going to spend, and why?
Well, when we met at the Hale Reservation...
Okay.
All right, I had actually mentioned to her, you know, this is a $300 budget. At that time, I had said to Rachel that this is a $300 budget.
Did anybody ever tell you this is a $300 budget?
I don't recall that.
Right. Okay, this is where contracts come in handy. Go ahead.
So she had done the flowers and had done more than we had asked for.
What was more than you had asked for? They were bigger than each thing was bigger, or were there extra things?
There was extra flowers.
What was the extra thing?
So the extra things were she did an arrangement that was on the bottom of the fireplace. Mm-hmm. She did another arrangement, like a floor arrangement, I think, and then she did another silk arrangement for in front of the chapel. Do you have those?
And you had not asked her for that?
No, she
said... Is that accurate?
I did them because I had extra flowers and I hate wasting, and she was thrilled to pieces. And I wasn't charging her any more than basically the cost.
Well, we don't know. We don't really know, do we?
No,
because you don't give a price beforehand, you give a price afterwards. You both agree, everybody agrees that all you've paid is $300, right?
No, that is not true.
Oh, you don't agree? Okay.
No.
How much do you say you paid her?
Sean has the dates and amounts.
We paid her $300 2 weeks right after our honeymoon, which I think was close to 2 weeks after.
You have a receipt for the $300?
She paid her in cash out of our honeymoon money. We paid
You don't have a receipt. How am I supposed to know how much you paid her?
I know.
Go on.
She paid her another $150 in the August-September time, around that area.
No, November, I think it was.
November, okay, so
Do you
probably
have a
when she
receipt
was.
for that?
No.
This was 3 years ago. How am I going to you're just going to shoot off a number?
Then February, I'm sorry, John. In February 5th, she went to her house and she gave her $250.
Okay, well, I have an issue. That would mean that you've paid her $700 on a bill that's $649. So your math cannot be right.
I never got a bill. I never got an invoice. I still didn't know.
Well, what were you going to do? Just pay her until the ends of the earth?
She kept asking me for money. Every time there was problems with something like her cat Denny or whatever, she wanted more money.
I'm sorry, but why would you give her more money on a bill that you, according to you still don't know how much you're going to pay for the flowers?
I know.
No, that can't be truthful.
It is truthful.
I'm sorry. It is now 6 months after your wedding, and you just keep paying money, but you don't know how much or when it's going to end. Well, then you're nuts.
Yes, I am.
I wouldn't be here.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing was really done inappropriately.
But who does that?
I know, my husband
So
said...
wait a second. So then when were you going to know when to stop money? When your husband cried uncle?
He said, stop paying her.
Sometimes I didn't know what she was doing till after the fact. So I had to stop her.
And he said, you should start writing checks. Why aren't you writing checks? Right? So...
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. Is it more important or less important to get a written contract when you're dealing with friends?
Probably more important.
Because?
You can always refer back to it.
Well, that's the case, though, whether it's a friend or not a friend.
I would get a written contract regardless of who it is.
Okay, who thinks it makes a difference? Does it make a difference?
It absolutely does.
What?
Some things are implied with friends, but when it comes down to business, it's business and you need things written in stone.
With friends?
With friends.
Point, going inside the courtroom.
Did you ever get a receipt from her at all? Because this is a piece of paper where you wrote something. Did you ever get this?
Can I see that? Because I don't remember getting that.
You may have?
I don't know. I don't think I got that. I don't know.
Okay, so that's written on the stationery of the second company you folks worked together at, where you were her boss.
Yep.
But that would not be unusual because everybody says the invoice, you say the invoice didn't come at all, and she says the invoice came after you came back from your honeymoon.
I don't remember getting that, but it was so long ago, I don't know.
There would be absolutely no reason for you to continue to pay if you didn't think that you hadn't fully paid yet. That's the weird part.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't sure because I really didn't know.
Do you have any proof at all of having paid $300, then $150, then $250? You have zero proof? Boy, you're lucky she admits to $300, huh? Here's the thing. I have no idea. And the worst part is usually I have no idea, but you two have an idea and you're both a pair of liars. But you guys are so muddied up that I'm not even sure you two had a clear-cut idea on how much was supposed to be spent on this. And so what am I supposed to do when that happens? You know, you're the plaintiff and you're the person with the burden of proving your case. Here are the problems with your case. Number one, you wait 3 years to take it to court. You're still within the statute of limitations. But that's something that makes me go, if that money was really owed all this time, and it's not a matter of that you're disgruntled employee, because I've seen the email when you quit. If it wasn't a matter of all that, it's sure looking like a matter of all that. I have you claiming, and this is a problem with your defense, is that I paid over the amount that's here, but you have zero proof of having paid 1 penny, and that's no good, because cash should never leave this hand without a receipt coming into this hand. But how am I supposed to figure out what is owed on something when I don't know what the something is? I don't know that there was ever this agreement between you guys. I don't know how much the agreement was for. Can't do it. I just can't do it. You have the burden of proof in this case, and because of how hairy all this is and how informal and how the circumstances, the way it played out, I cannot find by a preponderance of the evidence how much is owed or if there even is still money owed. Verdict in this case for the defendants.
All right, both sides.
So the defendant prevails in this lawsuit against one-time friends. Obviously, you made this a very tough case for the judge. You had nothing to prove your point, you know?
Because I'm a sucker and I didn't get documents, and Carol's like Teflon, nothing sticks to her.
Well, you had no contract.
Yep.
Stupid.
Stupid.
You really do have an S up
S
there.
for
It's
sucker.
hidden. Yep. Sorry, you learned the hard way.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, officer has some documents you must sign out there. Here now comes Mr. Davenport and Miss Davenport. You know, you're kind of in the same boat. You might have an S on your head too. Yes, you do.
Definitely.
I told her to get receipts. I told her to get to write checks, but she just.
Boy, you learned the hard way. Sorry, that's the way it works in court. You made it tough for the judge too. You should feel sorry for her.
Oh, you did.
I do.
Okay, you have to have some documents signed.
Thank you so much.
That'll bring the case to a close. Harvey?
So, if you have an unenforceable contract, if it's incomplete, judge can still award the reasonable value of services. The problem here, the money was already paid, and there's no way of making heads or tails of it. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things. No unwritten rules. And no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free 1-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
These are the plaintiffs, Valerie Curtin Nance and Dempsey Raines. Dempsey says he parked his car legally at the drugstore parking lot, and the defendant, for some unknown reason, towed his car. He was forced to pay $180 to get it back. The tow company wouldn't listen to reason because he was most definitely parked in a good spot, and they're here suing for the return of their hard-earned money. This is the defendant, Brian Shinen. He says he's been in the tow business pretty much his whole life, and the plaintiff parked his car in one lot, then walked across the street to another business, and that's why he was towed. He has every right to do his job for the business owners who hire him. The plaintiff was wrong. That's why his car was removed. He's accused of making a little towing mistake.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says he was illegally towed from the defendant's drugstore parking lot, but the tower says the guy parked and then walked across the street to another business. It's the case of tow nailed.
Thank you, Douglas. Valerie Curtin Nance?
Yes.
And Dempsey Raines?
Yes.
You are suing B&M Towing, represented here by Brian Shining. You're the owner?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
for $180 that you want paid back to you because you feel that the car was inappropriately towed. Mr. Raines, you're the one who had parked the car, right? What
Yes.
happened?
I was giving people a ride to the store. Then one was going to one store, one going to another store. Then we was gonna meet back, and
Who was going to what store, and what store were you going to? What store were they going to?
they was going to Driftway. One was going to another store.
Oh, so you had two people in the car.
Yeah. I had
All
two
right, where
people.
did you go?
Yeah, I went to the check on my taxes across the street.
Oh, okay. And what were you doing? What do you mean by check on your taxes? You give it to, it was H&R Block across the street, right?
Yeah, H&R
You
Block.
sit with them, you
Yeah.
talk about it with them, and they either have them ready or they don't. But
Yeah.
what were you going physically to do over there?
I was gonna pick them up.
Okay.
Yeah,
I asked, what time was this?
around 6 o'clock.
Okay, what time did you get a call regarding the tow?
Approximately 6:45.
Okay, who called you to tell you to tow the car?
An agent from the property, I was in the office, I got the phone call, gave me the car's description and where the car was and the plate number.
And they told you that the person,
One person parked the car and walked straight across to H&R Block.
When do you, so this is at 7, when do you get the call from somebody saying, hey, do you have my car?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at night. Okay. So if you were just picking up your taxes, what time did you come back and notice your car missing?
Around 6:30.
Okay. So what did you do?
Yeah, I called the police, and I walked all the way back home.
How far was back home?
About 10 to 11 blocks.
Okay. And what did the police say to you? Did you call the police first?
Yeah, I called the
All
police
right. So did the
first.
police tell you the car had been towed?
Yeah, they looked it up.
Right. So you already knew at 6:30 the car was towed. Why did it take until 10 o'clock? If you were there by 6:30, why did it take until 10 o'clock to call the tow company?
Well, they gave me the number.
Right. But why did it take until 10 o'clock? Maybe you were at H&R Block a little longer?
No.
No.
They
All right. Who's the
showed it.
gentleman with you? Was he in the car with you?
Yeah,
Okay. Can I hear from him a second? Could you come up and you two switch places?
yeah.
What's your name?
James.
All right. And are you related?
Yes, that's my cousin.
Okay. Were you in the car?
Yes.
Tell me where you guys were going.
We was going to Mount Avenue to go get my sister some soup and some medicine for her daughter and her son. My cousin had dropped us off a block before Thriftway because we wanted to check a different store before we got to Thriftway. The store that we went to first, they didn't have.
So then when he arrived at this place, he did park alone?
Yes.
Okay, because he had dropped you guys off in
Yes.
the other pharmacy. Okay.
And then me and my sister proceeded to walk towards Thriftway to see if the Thriftway had the medicine and the soup for my
All right.
niece and my
so
nephew.
then let me see if I got this straight. But based on what you're saying, here's what happens. He drops you off at the first pharmacy. Then he keeps driving, and he goes to the parking lot of where the second pharmacy that you're going to go to is.
Yes.
But these guys don't know that you're going there. The owner
Yes.
of the lot doesn't know that you're going there.
Yes.
And in fact, what the owner of the lot sees is just this: him park the car and walk across the street to H&R Block.
We had went to Thriftway right after.
No.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't also.
You weren't in the car. You're not
Yes,
a
that's
guy
what
in
I'm
the
saying.
car. Okay.
We wasn't in the car. They
All right.
also didn't see us.
Do you have a receipt, by the way, from the place that you went to afterwards? That
My sister has the receipt. I
okay.
wasn't.
Let me just ask you a question. When did you find out the car had been towed?
Me and my sister had walked back because my uncle was still in H&R Block, and we didn't understand.
What time did you guys walk back?
All I could tell you was nighttime, so I could say it's like after 6, so 7:30, 7 o'clock-ish.
Right, he's still in H&R Block. His car is still there.
I'm not too sure if his car was there.
You don't know, right?
No, it wasn't.
So you guys didn't stick around. You had nothing to do with the car. So the fact that you're at that place buying medicine doesn't mean anything because you're not there when it's parked and you're not going home in it. Okay. So let me hear from you. You are who?
Dempsey's aunt. This is my son. It wasn't at 10 o'clock because I'm the one that paid the money.
Okay.
It was nowhere near 10 o'clock at night. Because
What time did you guys call him?
Dempsey's timing, they may be off, but it was around 7. They left around, I would say, a little after 6. It happened maybe 7, at the latest 7:15. When I came out, my daughter came up. She said to me that they were back, but Dempsey had got his car, something had happened to his car, because they were back a couple of minutes. I heard them downstairs. She came up, she mentioned that.
So when do you place the call? What time do you place the call?
He placed.
He does.
He placed.
What
He
time
was
did you
on
place?
the
I didn't place the call.
phone.
Dempsey
He
placed
was
the
on the phone when I came down the steps.
Okay. So
Okay.
did you grab the phone?
He was talking to a woman which said that he owed $180.
Did you grab the phone?
By that time, she got off. I let him handle it, and I said to him, let's hurry up. Let's go down there because you don't want to have a problem and have to
storage fees and all
pay
that
storage
stuff. All right.
fees.
So you go down there with the 180, and what happens?
I went down there with my credit card.
Okay.
He told me he needed cash only. So I ran to a store and came back.
Right.
He was just outside waiting.
Is it him who was waiting or somebody else?
I don't recall that.
Was it you or somebody else?
It was not me, it was my driver.
So go on.
I don't recall it. So he said he was out there waiting or whatever. So I gave him the money, and then he didn't want it. He said, I need $236.
Why did that happen?
So if you park in a mall and then you walk across the street, how quickly can they tow your car?
I mean, 1 hour.
1 hour, really? What do you say?
I would say almost never. You have...
No, I'm not asking what you wish. I'm asking what you think.
Oh, probably about 45 minutes, yeah.
Who thinks immediately? Anybody?
Not me, no.
Really?
Half an hour minimum. Like
You got a rude awakening coming, going inside the courtroom.
What happened was, when they called for the car after hours, the driver was already home. So
did not call it.
they're not supposed to release the car after hours.
What's after hours, 5?
No, after 4 o'clock, or an hour
You call
after.
hours after 4?
An hour after the vehicle is towed.
Oh, after
Compared-
4 o'clock, you call after hours, 1 hour after the vehicle is towed. So if it's towed at 6, after hours would be 7.
Yes.
Okay, I need you to not talk. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The agreed price that the driver and Mr. Dempsey or the woman, I don't know, I was not there, came up with was $210.
How do you know?
Because this is what my driver told me the next morning when he first came in and told me this whole ordeal.
Okay.
He said that she went and she came back with $180. He did not want to argue with her anymore. She had told my driver, how dare he tow a car with a mentally challenged person. And the driver asked, how are we supposed to know, and why didn't you handle this if Mr. Dempsey is mentally challenged? So they got into an argument. He did not want to argue anymore, so he took the $180 and said, you know
closed it
what,
out.
forget it.
Okay. Let me have Mr. Raines back up. I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Raines admits that he parked the car and then he walked to H&R Block. Tell me what they did wrong, or what the
I said
owner of the lot did wrong.
My daughter and son went into the Thriftway. That's where they stole the car from, Thriftway. That's what the lot is.
I'm sorry. Your daughter and son did not get out of his car at the Thriftway. Your daughter and son, according to your son, had gotten out of the car in another
they were
pharmacy.
going to Thriftway.
Well, that's great. I might be going to somewhere, but unless I was getting out of the car, I don't have a right to park there. So he parks there and clearly walks across the street according to his own testimony, and they're not in the car according to his own testimony. The person who called him and said, hey, tow this car, he parked here and he went there. That's the idea behind these shopping centers, is they need to keep that open so that they can make money, so they can eat and pay their kids tuition. They don't want you parking there, taking up the slots of the customers to go across the street to H&R Block. They don't want that.
Well,
even if it's for a minute, they don't want that. Okay? So no, the answer to my question is really a rhetorical question. They did nothing wrong, and my verdict is for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So in this case, the defendant did absolutely nothing wrong, according to the judge. The plaintiff, Ms. Nance, is coming out of the courtroom with Mr. Raines. Do you understand the judge's verdict?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're okay with it?
Yes, sir.
You all right, Ms. Nance?
No.
They didn't get it. You didn't get out of the
No.
car. That's why the car was
shopped
towed.
they shopped there. They went in.
Yeah, but not at the time when when he parked the car. You heard that. Okay. Sorry, that's the judge's decision. Thank you very much. You have to sign some documents. Our officer is waiting for you. Come on, Mr. Shinan. How are you?
Okay.
Kind of sorry you got involved in this. I had to come to court over this.
We've received a summons, and we know that we are doing it 100% legal. I've been doing this since 1968.
Yeah.
I know the laws, and I know all the stories.
Well,
if they had a receipt and went into the store, they would have had the receipts to show the tow truck driver when they came for the car.
Yeah.
They had no receipt.
Okay. Well, they weren't even there. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they said that they did go into Thriftway.
No, but they weren't there when the car was towed.
No.
Well, look,
It was
bottom
not
line
like
is
that.
you won the case.
Yes,
Be
yes,
happy.
yes.
Okay? Have a good time.
Thank you.
See you later. Good luck. Harvey?
You know what? I can make this so short and sweet. You can be towed the second you walk off the property if they know that you're not doing business there. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
This is the plaintiff, Catherine McNeil. She says her little innocent Chihuahua named Peanut was savagely attacked by the defendant's big, vicious dog, injuring her severely. She had to spend 3 days in the animal hospital. The defendant refuses to do the right thing, and she's suing her here and now for every single penny of the $1,891.53 she's owed. This is the defendant, Donna Vergadamo. She says she highly doubts there was a dog attack at all because the vet bill didn't say a dog bite occurred. The plaintiff has no idea how her dog was injured because all the vet bill says is tissue damage. The woman's trying to pin the blame on her, but is barking up the wrong tree because her dog did not get out on the day in question. So there, she's accused of causing a dog's injuries.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says her Chihuahua named Peanut was attacked by the defendant's big dog, and it was vicious. But the defendant says she doesn't even believe there was a bite. It's the case of you're going to shell out big time for hurting Peanut.
Thank you, Douglas. Catherine McNeil, you are suing Donna Vergadamo, and we're just going to refer to the other person as the neighbor for whom you have power of attorney, okay? And we'll get into that in a moment. For $1,891.53 in vet bills that you incurred as a result of the neighbor's dog getting out of Donna Vergadamo's yard, correct?
Yes.
All right, tell me what happened.
We just moved into the neighborhood in April 15th, and our mailbox is at the bottom of the hill. So for the afternoon walk, I would walk down the hill, pick up the mail, and then walk around the other way. So it's a circle past the defendant's home. And there was always 3 dogs behind the fence, and they'd start barking. And Peanut and I always crossed.
Peanut's your dog?
My dog.
What kind of a dog is Peanut?
Chihuahua.
Okay.
We'd always walk on the other side, always leashed. And this day, on August 10th, when we came around, the dogs were all barking, and Peanut...
Are you walking across the street from where the defendant's house is,
Yes.
or are you walking on the street? You have a right to be on the street.
On the street. There's no sidewalks.
Okay, all right. That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
So you're in the street, where
Yes.
in front of where the defendant's house is, and then what
Yes.
happens?
The dog...
How did the dog get loose?
It jumped the fence.
Oh, it jumped the fence?
Yes.
How high is the fence?
I have some pictures of the fence.
Let's see it.
There's...
What kind of dog, do you know?
I have pictures of the dog.
Do you know or no?
No,
right.
I really don't know.
And what does the dog do?
The dog, this is the pictures of the fence.
Okay. The dog does what?
The dog grabbed Peanut towards the hind end and started shaking it in its mouth. So I then, the leash has a big plastic handle, and I was trying to hit the dog with the end of the leash and started kicking at it. The dog released Peanut. Before I could scoop Peanut back up, the dog grabbed her again and started shaking her again, and then finally released the dog. I was screaming. I was, doing everything I could to...
There's some pictures of a loose dog. Is that the dog?
Yes.
And then when did you take those pictures?
At the time of the attack.
Okay, so just to point out that the dog was loose?
That what was the dog, to identify
which
the dog.
it was. And okay. Is this a picture of a different dog?
Yes, that's
And then
dog.
this is the fence is like falling apart. What's going on? Is this your yard?
Can you see that picture, ma'am?
The fence isn't falling apart. That's not.
This is.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
That's not my. That's. I have pictures of what the fence looked like.
Okay. Is this your house?
That's my house.
Is that fence?
There's a fence there. Okay. And what the fence that you're looking at that falls apart,
It's falling apart because as I'm seeing one, yeah.
Okay, that is on the other side. That has
on
nothing.
the inside.
On the inside.
Yes, of course, but it's falling down. Why is it falling down?
Because I had it up by rocks. It's on the inside. Like, okay.
I know. Why is your fence falling apart? Because the worry is that you have 3 dogs there and they're going to get out. One of these dogs got out. Whose dog is this?
I've taken care of these dogs for 3 years and none of them got out.
Well, until today, until they do, right? Until the day in question. Is this you take care of one neighbor's dog?
Yes, because I had the fenced-in backyard, and
so we thought
my dogs have never gotten out. The owner of her house has a fenced-in backyard. She used to push rocks.
You're referring to Mabel's owner?
Yes. And Mabel was loose in the yard all the time.
In your yard?
No.
In her own yard?
Her own yard. She used to push
When you say
stones.
loose, you mean she would get out of her yard?
Yes.
So as a precaution to stop that, you started to allow Mabel is a dog?
Yes.
To hang out at your house?
To hang out at my house.
Because Mabel gets along well with your dog?
Mabel
Is that a
does.
picture of Mabel?
Yes.
Okay. So did you take your dog to the vet?
Yes,
Okay.
I went home. Peanut was bleeding. So there was blood on me. There was blood on. I had an open cut. I got home, and the first thing I did was call the animal control. And then Peanut was just like hiding in the other room, and I knew, she wasn't walking. This was serious. So I called the vet.
Took the dog to the vet.
Took the dog to the vet. And
Okay, so what happened at the vet? Do you have the vet bill?
Yes.
May I see it? So what did they do to her there?
There was about 18 stitches. They stitched up the outside. They put in a drain. Okay, so there's 2 vet bills.
From 2 different visits?
Yeah, the first vet bill, she was in the hospital for 3 days. They said that the first couple of days are critical because usually when a big dog meets a little dog, the little dog does not survive. And then she was home and the stitches fell out, so we had to bring her back, and she spent another night where they restitched her. I also have another picture of the fence because the defendant that following weekend fixed the fence. I took a picture.
May I see it?
Of that. And this is a healthy Peanut.
Okay, talk to me.
First of all, I wasn't home. Okay? I wasn't home at the time that the incident took place. When I left for work at 9 o'clock in the morning, okay? And Mabel was not in my backyard. When I came home from work, which was around 6 o'clock, Mabel was tied on a leash in her backyard.
What happened with the dog? Did animal control get Mabel and...
No, animal control never quarantined Mabel.
That wasn't my question.
Okay, so if you have a fence, are you still automatically responsible if the dog gets out?
I think you're always responsible for your pet. It's your animal. You got to watch out for him.
Well, enough said. Going inside the courtroom.
How did Mabel get from being loose to being tied in her own yard?
I don't know.
Okay, but you do know now, because now you have seen pictures that Mabel was loose. And the pictures were taken when she had a motive to take them, which was when the attack happened. So you know Mabel got loose.
But she didn't get loose from my yard. She could have gotten loose from her yard because she was never in my backyard.
According to you, it was from the yard that had the fence broken that's been fixed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an 8-foot fence, Your Honor. That is an 8-foot fence.
Ma'am, look, the dog is out. She sees the dog come. She's the only eyewitness who says the dog came from your yard. How would she know that you're babysitting Mabel, all of these time that you've had the dog in your yard, all these other times? She doesn't know that. If the dog came out of her own yard, and you should be out of the lawsuit, but the other person should be completely responsible, the neighbor who you're here to represent, the neighbor should be completely responsible. If that's the case, what a coincidence that she happens to say that the dog came out of your yard, and your yard is where the dog's been for a long time. What are the odds that she could just make something like that up? I mean, come on.
But I didn't give anybody permission for the dog to be in my backyard.
That day? Just every other day? All right. One of the ways you defended this case is to say that there was not even evidence of a dog bite. Where did you get that from?
I got that from my vet.
Are you kidding me? There was surgery because there was a punctured stomach.
But it could have. When I talked to my vet said that these injuries were not caused by a dog bite. These injuries could have been caused from the dog. There's a lot of rocks. The dog could have rolled over in a ditch, and that's what I was told by the dog officer.
Can you prove that?
I have a witness that the vet said that too.
Where are you pointing behind you?
Right here. She was with me when I went to the vet because I couldn't get information from her vet as far as the dog bites go because it was not my dog.
Right, but all you need is her giving permission. Did you ever speak to her to say what up?
A couple of days after, a couple of days after. Between that, I found out that it wasn't her dog.
Okay. Well, did animal control do anything?
They were trying to get a hold of either one of them.
So did the animal control ever speak with you?
Yes. Animal control called me like about 3 weeks later.
Had she approached you or you had not heard anything?
I never knew.
You didn't know anything? Okay, so they call you.
I called them back. The story I got from animal control was that Maybelle chased the dog and chased the dog into a ditch. That's the story I got from the dog officer. And there's a lot of ditches around the neighborhood. She could have.
That's not okay either. I mean, you say that like that's okay. That's also not okay.
But it didn't. Why am I being responsible for it?
Because Maybelle hangs in your yard. She says Maybelle came from your yard. You admit Maybelle hangs in your yard. You're not a neighbor saying, what the heck, I have nothing to do with this dog. You're a neighbor who every day is doggy daycare in your yard because the dogs get along, and she is testifying, and she's the only human who was there, that it came from your yard. If it came from the other person's yard, why would she say it came from yours? She has no motive to do that. Jeez.
Your Honor, can I say something? Maybelle
something else? I'm going to insist that it makes sense and that it not just be like, it could have happened with because saucers could have come from outer space. Go ahead.
Maybelle does not hang around in my yard every day. She may be over there once a week or twice a week.
It's a good thing you fixed the fence because apparently the fence is not sufficient in its prior state to be able to keep the dogs in. I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff in this case in the amount of $1,891.53. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
So the plaintiff prevails. Ms. Vergadamo, if you step over here, please, let me just ask you a quick question. How do you feel about the outcome here? I know you were trying to get something across to the judge.
It's not my dog, and I'm being held responsible for a dog that's not mine.
But you know the circumstances make it look like the dog was in your yard and could have been, because he usually is, right?
It could have been in the next yard. The yards are so close together, she could have ran from...
You explained it to the judge. She didn't buy your story. That's the way it is.
I wasn't there, so how am I supposed to...
All right. Sorry very much. This way, please. Now the plaintiffs are on their way out of the courtroom. Ms. McNeil, how is your dog? That's the important thing.
She's good.
She is good now?
Yeah, still terrified to walk down the street.
Yeah.
But she's getting through it.
Okay.
And you're right, that's the most important thing.
That's good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And that'll wrap it up. Harvey, your turn.
I got to say, you a lawyer, by the way? Well, you nailed it, because if you have a dog that is behind a fence, but the dog gets out, it means something's wrong with the fence, and if the dog bites somebody or does damage, you are responsible.